Hello and welcome. This is my first ASMR video, at least the first one I'm ever publishing. My name is Jen, and the goal of this channel is to create videos that aren't just relaxing but are educational and informative. So, my favorite topic to study is geography. So, this whole channel is going to be devoted to geography, world culture, world history, things like that. Now, since this is the start of my channel, my new microphone is on the way. It'll be here in about 2 days, so I just couldn't wait. I wanted to get started right away and get to know you guys and figure out how this all works. This is my fun little atlas. And yes, it is a children's atlas. I don't know what it is about children's atlases. I just think that they're a lot more fun than an adult one, because adult ones you just get maps, right? And the children's ones you get all sorts of pictures, fun facts, and all sorts of fun little extras, it seems. I got this book about maybe 8 or 9 years ago because I really wanted an atlas that had South Sudan in it, because I didn't have at the time any updated world maps that included South Sudan, which was the newest country at the time. So I found this book and I love it. And today, since it's just the first video, we're just gonna flip through a little bit and I'll show you some maps inside. I hope you'll join me and maybe you'll even learn something. Let's take a look. So, first of all, what I really like about this book is this great world map in here. The book did come with a little CD-ROM that was in this plastic flap here, but it didn't work with my computer, so I just threw it away. But you can see this is a great map that actually features every country on it. And here's what I do when I'm looking for a good map, is I always check the Caribbean to see if every island is listed. And then I always check the Indian Ocean to see if all of those little islands are listed. Like the Maldives, Turks and Caicos, even Christmas Island is on there. The Seychelles, and then, Oceania. All of those little islands and countries and nations are also listed. So it's always important to make sure that everyone is included in the world. It's only fair. Let's flip through. There's lots of facts in the intro about how maps work and how the world works. And these pages are really fun. So each continent gets its own special page. So this is North America, and it lists out every country in North America by size. And it does this for every continent. And each little box contains the name of the country, the flag, how big it is, how many people live there, the capital, and what languages are spoken there. So there's already so much information on just these pages. It's really interesting. And like I was saying, there's always fun pictures and little facts like this. This is St. Lucia, Statue of Liberty, and some of the Rocky Mountains in Canada. And then go through the larger countries like Canada, and later on China and Russia get 2 different pages just because they're such massively huge countries that you need 2 pages, especially in a place like Canada, because Western Canada is so much different than Eastern Canada. It's a whole different subject. Later on, I'm going to do some videos about UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and I was reading about one that's located right here on the tip of Newfoundland, where the first Viking village was discovered, most likely where Leif Erikson landed on North America and set up the first little colony that wasn't originally from North America. And that colony had been lost. It had been buried under sand and rocks, and it was rediscovered, and I think it was either the late 1950s or 1960s. The United States is also split up, and I think that's a little bit of bias, because this being an American book, they have a lot more details on America than, say, Honduras or Nicaragua. All the Caribbean islands here. And as you can see, there's lots of little facts about all these different places around the world. Like, here's some facts about Rastafarianism in Jamaica. Over here talks about hurricanes, Haiti. This is a picture of Carnival, but it also talks about how other festival holidays are held in this region, like Diwali, Eid al-Fitr, Christmas, and then Carnival is the start of Lent. So lots of interesting topics. Here's South America. And oh, look, it's Machu Picchu. I definitely am going to Machu Picchu someday. I've heard it's quite a hike, but I'm up for it. Now, some pages in this book are sideways, so like, here's Peru, where Machu Picchu is. Someday. And eventually, with this channel, I'm going to do a long series that I've been planning. I can't wait to show you guys all the work I've been planning for this channel. Oh, and then there's pages on just the oceans as well, because of course you need to talk about Iceland. Can't forget Iceland, the neatest countries. Africa. Did you ever know about the history of so many different countries in Africa? And I'm not talking about just colonialism or any of the coups that have happened in the last 60, 70 years or so in many different countries in Africa, but long before that, like the Kush Empire that once took over Egypt, had their own pyramids down along the Nile, the longest river in the world. So many different histories that, seem to be forgotten. We're gonna definitely go over those. So my plan for this channel is not just to show you atlases and maps and things like that, but we are definitely going to be getting into the history of all of these different countries around the world. And I'm so excited, you guys. My favorite kind of ASMR videos are ones where I can just lean back and close my eyes and learn something interesting as I fall asleep, and maybe carry those facts with me as I fall asleep and dream, and then wake up with all kinds of interesting new tidbits of knowledge in my head. So that's the kind of videos I want to make. The series I want to do is to do a country each week and put out lots of videos about that country. Do, one video on its history, one video on its geography, its major cities and regions and things like that. Like, we can talk about all the different regions in Spain. There are so many. Just as an example. And maybe read you some short books about those regions and read some biographies about famous people that lived in those countries, and just, relax and learn at the same time. I got into geography when I was about 6 years old, and I had, for some reason, a lot of games and little cards about geography and trivia about it. And I got really into learning all the capitals around the world. And I was born in the 80s, so around this time the Soviet Union broke up and all these new countries came about. And I was really mad about it because there's so much more I had to learn in this region of the world. But as the years went on, I kind of learned why these countries came about, what happened in Russia, and learned that geography and history go hand in hand. And, the best way to understand geography is to understand the history of those countries. And the best way to understand the history of those countries is to learn their geography. Like, how much do you know about the Ottoman Empire, for example? For hundreds of years, this was one of the most powerful regions in the world. And the Ottoman Empire does not exist anymore, really, to any capacity. So we can learn how that happened, what transpired, how it started, what life was like in the Ottoman Empire, how far it reached, and why it's gone now. And when I say we're going to go over every country, I really do mean it. I have an order that we're going to go in, but it's probably not an order you know of. It's definitely not alphabetical or historical. And I wonder, after a few weeks, if anyone will actually catch on to what the order will be. But you have to be very perceptive, I think, to figure it out. We've already flipped past the first country we're going to go over. And once my microphone gets here in a few days, and I pick up some books at the library that I have on hold, we're going to start hopefully sometime next week. And I really hope you'll join me. Every time I'm on this page, I think, why is there a huge moth right here? And I realize it's from this picture of these boys flying the kites. And it's a kite. It's a traditional Malaysian sport here in Malaysia. The Indian Ocean You wouldn't believe how many little countries exist just in the Indian Ocean that are very tiny. Not to mention countries like, Sri Lanka that seem tiny, but compared to the Maldives. The Maldives is the second smallest country in the world. Do you know the first? And I like this. Australasia, Oceania. I've never heard it called that before, but I think it's really pretty. I've already been prepping for Australia Week and going over, how countries get their names and where did the name Australia even come from. And we'll basically learn that it comes from the Latin word for south. And a lot of map makers at the time thought that it sounded prettier than the names that the other colonizers were giving it. So it wound up being called that from the map makers at the time. Sydney Opera House right here. Can you see? Right there. One of the great man-made wonders of the world. And the Pacific Ocean, the largest ocean, which also has a lot of countries in it. Many, many, many islands around it. The Ring of Fire all along here, where there are volcanoes and earthquakes all the time. And we can't forget Antarctica, can we? Antarctica that isn't technically owned by any country, but there are lots of little settlements for science and discovery that are owned by many countries. We've got, let's see, right at the South Pole is Amundsen Scott, owned by the United States. Let me get my pencil. It's so much easier to point things out with a pencil, I think. The South Pole, owned by the US. We've got Vostok here, owned by Russia. And along the coast, you can see the Shackleton Ice Shelf here. Princess Elizabeth Land. You can guess who named that territory, can't you? But here we have Casey, owned by Australia. Mirny, owned by Russia. Davis, owned by Australia. Mawson, owned by Australia. Molodensnaya, owned by Russia. Siowa, owned by Japan. Novolazarenskaya, owned by Russia. Sorry if I butchered that. Sinai, owned by South Africa. Georg von Neumayer, owned by Germany. Halley, owned by the UK. Belgrano, too, owned by Argentina. And many, many others. We've got Capitan Arturo Prat, owned by Chile. This island right here is owned by Norway and Peter the First Island. And there are all kinds of different mountains in Antarctica. Mount Sippel, Mount Sidley, Mount Kirkpatrick, Mount Markham, Mount Erebus, all the way down here to George V Land, and Leningradskaya. And there's Dumont d'Urville by France. And down here are some penguins. Penguins are my favorite birds. then of course it says it's the gazetteer. If I can get it into frame here. The gazetteer. Or, just a fancy word for index where we can look up all the different cities and geographic locations listed in the book. Like here we can see Doba is a town in Chad. It's on page 42 in section E7. Why don't we go find Doba in Chad? Let's go to Africa. I've already forgot the page number. Chad. So I can look on the side here. Section 7 is over here. And E is up here. E7, and there's Doba right there. Fantastic. Look at this here. That's so cool. This says it's a bamboo head, and it's a mask that was used to scare off evil spirits. So, there's so much we can learn just from this little book, even though it says it's for children. I think anyone can appreciate this book. Thank you for joining me tonight. And I hope you'll join me again. Like I said, the quality is definitely going to improve in the next few days. I'm just a beginner, so be gentle with me. But I really hope that this video made you relaxed. I'm excited to take you along with me. Sorry, my cat just woke up and he's probably going to start asking for snacks soon, so I think it's time to say goodnight for now. And I'll see you soon, where I think we're gonna go look a little more in depth into this book and then get started on our series. So thank you and good night.